What's going on, guys? Boy King Red Diamonds, and I'm back for another Neo 2 video. In this video, I'll be going over my build. It was requested that I go over my build, make a new video for it to update it for newer players and stuff. So this is me doing that. Before I get into it, I ask you guys like, comment, subscribe. I thank you all so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the video. So my builds are mainly tailored towards my playstyle, which is completely aggressive. I am a very aggressive player. I like to combo. I like to, add in the little tricks and stuff here, yokai abilities, debuffs, all that stuff. But I'm a very aggressive player, as you can see in the gameplay. A lot of the time, I'm all up on the enemy. I don't really give them too many breaks. I try to overwhelm them as quickly as possible, to finish the boss as quickly as possible, as well as to keep them constantly debuffed so that they can't attack. Um, if you pay attention to the background gameplay, you'll see that like I'm literally not giving them enough time to breathe. Their key is literally, I'm going to continue to keep draining their key. Their key is going to stay like not bottomed off, basically. As you can see, my key is always topped off. So it's pretty much a constant cycle of me always being, like at max key at almost all the time, while making sure that the enemy is at zero key. Um, and it comes out to be a very, very good build. Everything I put together with this build synergizes. It's probably my most complete and best build that I've made to date. So out of all the builds you may see on my channel, if you check them out, this is going to be my most powerful build. This is by far the most powerful build that I have put together. It is the apex of my gaming experience. This is pretty much the fruits of my labor. This is everything that I put into this game. This is all the hours I put in. This build is, I will honestly, I'm not even going to say that this build is completely 100% optimized, but at the time, and basically dealing with the RNG of the game, and basically I've beaten the game, gotten through all the floors and everything. This build can still be pushed a little further, simply because I don't have the complete maximized amount of stuff I want on this build. Like, not every piece of gear is full of star effects. Not both of my accessories have all the perfect rolls and star effects on them. Not all of my weapons have the perfect rolls and star effects on them. So again, this build can be pushed past what it is right now, but as it stands, this is my most powerful build. This is more powerful than any build I've ever made. It has higher stats. It has better synergy. All the stats and all the special effects that I put into this build feed into itself. So in essence, there are not many weaknesses with this build. And the reason, I'll get into that in the second half, where I'll go into detail of everything, but the reason being for that is because of, one, my scroll. It synergizes with my with the build because it gives me extra stats that I really need and make this build like more powerful. Next we have my weapons. My weapons also make the build more powerful because of the special effects and stats I have on the weapons. Next we go into our equipment. The equipment, again, synergizes very well with going into the scroll and also into my weapons. Everything was put together meticulously. Everything, I made sure that I had everything that I could need to beat this game. Now again, like I said, it can be optimized further, but RNG is hell in this game, as many of you may know. So getting those would take a considerable amount of time to get. And honestly, I don't think it's needed right now for this build, because this build can take on anything in the game. It's ridiculously powerful. But enough of me rambling. I'm gonna finish out right here. I'll see you guys in the second half, where I go over the build. So yeah, see you guys then. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the second half of the video. This is usually the part of my build videos where I go over the build and pretty much go over every single detail of it, to let you all know what I'm running, so that maybe you can find certain pieces of gear that match up to mine. Again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into it. So for this build, I'm running the Grace of Oyamasumi 6-piece, as you can see, and also Izanagi's Grace 7-piece. All right. Now for this build, I do recommend Oyamasumi 6 pieces at least. For the other Grace, I'm running Izanagi. You do not have to use Izanagi. You can use any other Grace you want, as long as Oyamasumi is a part of that build. Simply because Oyamasumi is, in my opinion, very needed for Depths of the Underworld. Depths the Underworld, enemies hit super, super, super hard. And this grace is going to mitigate some of that damage you take. Um, as you can see, it gives you extra 500 to life. You get -8 the damage taken. You also get damage halved by 100% when unscathed. So basically, when you're at full health, you take less damage. Next, you have an extra 30% life, which is very, very good. Because it's not a flat boost and it's a percentage-based boost, it gives you higher than 500. Okay, so you get an extra, like you'll probably get like maybe 1,000 to 1,500 extra life rather than just 500. So definitely very good. And again, Izanagi's grace. This is the purity grace. This grace is based around strictly getting purified on your enemy and dealing increased damage while attacking a purified enemy. I mainly run this grace for this right here, cleansing prayer. This is a buff. This is a status buff that gives you 3 different stacks of buffs basically. So on your first stack, you get automatic health regen. On your second stack, you get increased key recovery speed. And on your third stack, you get increased melee damage. Now this grace, this special effect from this grace only works against yokai enemies because you have to purify a yokai realm in order for these buffs to kick in. Okay, so whenever you're facing a yokai enemy, you're going to be getting this buff and you're going to be doing increased damage. Now you might wonder, well, is it good against human enemies? It is very good against human enemies. Cleansing prayer honestly does not matter against human enemies. Yokai enemies tend to be stronger than human enemies simply because they do more. There are certain human enemies in the game that are very powerful, but having this grace on, it enables you to be able to take on those human enemies no problem, as well as do increased damage and basically be stronger against yokai. So don't be, too scared of that. It's okay if you can't get this buff off against humans. This build still puts out no matter what. So those are the 2 graces that I'm running. Next, we have our weapons. I have a dual sword that is imbued with purity on it, and I also have a regular single sword that's imbued with purity. For this build, I do not need these simply because there's a talisman that helps me get purity on my weapons, so I don't have to have imbued purity on them, but they are good bonuses to have. As you can see from both of my weapons, you may see the Mystic Dyad, that Star Effect Mystic Dyad. That is so that I can use both Mystic Arts on my weapon. Now, if you're not new to this game and you've been playing for a little while, you may not be late game, but you've been playing, you will know what Mystic Arts are. Every single weapon in the game has at least 2 Mystic Arts on their skill set, and usually you're only allowed to equip 1 at a time. Mystic Dyad makes it so that you can equip both of them at the same time. So for the weapon I chose, which is mainly my dual sword, this works perfectly simply because the dual sword has some of the best, probably the best 2 mystic arts in the game. A lot of mystic arts in the game, they are separate from each other, meaning that they usually give 2 different buffs to something of your weapon. For example, on your sword, one mystic art boosts backstab damage, and I think the other mystic art, let's go to it. Where is it? Sword here. So Mystic Art right here, boom. This one right here, Sword of Execution, it boosts your backstab damage. So as you see, it increases damage dealt when attacking enemy from behind. So it boosts your backstab damage. So whenever you're behind an enemy, you'll deal increased damage if you have this active. And then they have Sword of Salvation, which reduces key consumption when dodging with the sword equipped as your main weapon and extends the window of opportunity for a successful timely guard. So as you can see, both of these pretty much have nothing to do with each other. This one only reduces damage, only reduces key consumption when dodging, and then it helps you it helps open the window for a timely guard. That's what that part does, which has absolutely nothing to do with backstab damage. So the reason why I like using the dual sword, and I'll go back, is because if you look at both the dual swords, mystic arts, they literally complement each other perfectly. So the first one is momentum. And landing attacks reduces key usage of subsequent attacks. This effect can be boosted if you land other attacks before it runs out. So basically, as long as you're attacking, you're going to be using less key. That's what it basically means. The more you attack, the less key you use. Your attacks have to connect, but if you're hitting your enemy, you're using less key. That's very, very good. And then we have Firm Resolve. Landing an attack reduces the amount of damage you take for a time. This effect can be boosted if you land another attack before it. So that means that if you continue to attack and you have Mystic Dyad on your dual swords, you will be able to not only use less ki, but you'll be taking less damage. Meaning that you will have a special effect that boosts your ki, boosts your ki consumption, and also minimizes your ki consumption, and also boosts your attack, boosts your defense. And there will be little icons on the top left. Usually, wherever you get your buffs on the screen, wherever your buffs are, they will show up as active when you have this effect up. So if you're ever wondering if it's working, just check the buffs in the top left corner under your health and stuff, and it'll tell you if the buffs are up. But that's why I chose this weapon. This weapon's mystic arts are literally perfectly in tune with each other. They literally both deal with continuous attacking, and they both give you two separate buffs for the same action. It's amazing. It's probably one of the best, it's probably two of the best mystic arts in the game, and they're on one weapon. That's awesome. So again, I use Mystic Dyad on both my weapons, but specifically for the dual sword because of both of these mystic arts. It makes this build uber tanky. So that's why I have Mystic Dyad on my weapons. Next, if we look at my dual swords, you'll see it says transform bonus magic. Now, for anybody who is not late game, for anybody who pretty much is getting closer, there will be a special effect on certain weapons that'll be known as a transform bonus. And in the parentheses, it will have a different stat. So it can range from all the stats in the game between heart, magic, skill, strength, dexterity, courage, constitution, all of them. It can literally be any of those. And what it basically means is that whenever you put this special effect on your weapon, it will change the scaling stat of that weapon. So for anybody who does not know, dual swords usually scale with heart, strength, and skill. Okay? So since the main scaling stat of the dual swords is skill, transform bonus magic changes that to magic now. So now my weapon does not scale with skill, it scales with magic. As you can see, I have attack bonus heart, strength, and magic now because of transform bonus magic. This is very good for in-game builds when you want to focus into a certain stat, but the weapon that you want to use doesn't match the requirement of that stat. So transform bonus helps you be able to use any weapon you want in the game, change that stat to the stat that you want to focus in, and now you can use that weapon under that stat. If you check my weapon out, I also have remodeled my weapon to scale in both heart and magic with a minor scaling in strength. Basically, it's optimizing me using the stats that I want to use while also using the minimum amount of points in a certain stat that doesn't matter to me. So strength, for example, I don't need any strength for this weapon. I need mainly heart and magic. So that's what I feed it into, and that's why my weapon's attack power is so high. When you get later on in game, probably not too late, but when you get to the new game plus or new game plus, you'll start to look into remodeling gear and stuff. But I do have videos on my channel talking about that, so I'm not going to go too far in depth for that. Just go check those videos out and stuff, and then come back to this one. But that's pretty much all. Everything else on it is every other stat on the weapon is pretty much self-explanatory. Attack bonus magic pretty much means that if my magic stat is high, I get additional attack power. Next, life drain on melee clearly means that whenever I'm attacking, I drain life from my enemy. Next, we have the melee key damage star effect, which is very good. Melee key damage basically just makes me do more key damage with the melee weapon. So everything's pretty much self-explanatory. Don't need to go into that too much. Again, the regular sword, this one is not as maxed out as this one is. Simply because I'm not using a transform bonus for one, because since I'm already scaling into heart, because of my dual swords, I don't have to change the scaling stat of this. If I tried to put a transform bonus on this weapon, I cannot choose which attack bonus it takes away. It's going to choose the main scaling stat. So, for example, if I use transform bonus magic on this weapon, heart will no longer be there. It will scale into magic, strength, and skill. Or, for example, if I go into maybe the spear, If I was to change the spear's main scaling stat, as you can see, is Constitution because it has the highest grade. If I was to put a transform bonus on this magic, it would take away Constitution and scale in magic, strength, and skill. So whenever you use a transform bonus special effect, be wary that it's going to change the main scaling stat. You cannot choose which stat to change. It's going to change the main scaling stat. So be wary of that when you're using transform bonus, so that you're using it on a weapon that you actually want to use, okay? Or actually want to change its scaling stat. Next, my range weapons. I do not use these. These are for clearing out areas like with a lot of enemies and stuff. Outside of that, these are not used in boss battles or anything. So you don't really have to max these out. You don't have to really do anything with these really, outside of putting damage bonus agility on them. Now, I only have it on this weapon simply because this weapon is always in my equipped slot. This weapon's never really in my equipped slot, and if it is, it's because I'm clearing out enemies and stuff, and I'm not really attacking with my melee weapons and stuff. But when I'm fighting a boss or a tougher enemy, I have this in my equipped slot, and damage bonus agility takes effect. So make sure if you have ranged weapons and you switch between them a lot, just put damage bonus agility on both of them, and that way you'll be set no matter what you're doing. But yeah, these don't really matter as much. They're just there as placeholders, so I can have the Grace Oyama Sumi's 6-piece bonus. But make sure you get a damage bonus agility on them because it works even when you're not using it. As long as it's in your equipped slot, the buff is active. So make sure that you roll that on both your ranged weapons. Next, we have our equipment, like our armor. I have a Shooting Doji mask, which is very, very good, and the rest is the heirloom set. Shooting Doji's mask, as you can see, comes with innate anima and increased attack on anima absorption. So as long as you're absorbing anima, you're going to be getting an attack boost. I try to roll attack on every single piece of my gear. As you can see, attack is on every piece to increase my attack by as much as possible. I have melee damage and melee key damage on every single piece of gear as well. I want to be dealing a lot of damage and melee key damage, so I try to get that on every single piece of armor I have. And then this came with a star effect increase when the attack, which I don't really need because it's already on my scroll. And they don't stack. So basically whatever, it just activates one time. You don't get an increased stacking buff on it. It's just one. If you have it multiple times, it's going to activate one time. So don't worry too much about it. But the heirloom set, I'm only running this set because it's probably one of the heaviest sets you can wear that will keep you in B agility. For those of you who don't know, which you probably should by now if you're this far in the game, if you take a look at the top where it says equipment weight, you'll see that there are green numbers and white numbers. So the green numbers are the weight of my equipment, and the percentage underneath is pretty much the percentage of how heavy my weight is. If you hit 70%, it'll turn yellow, and that'll mean you're in C agility. The numbers pretty much go: purple is for double A, blue is for A, green is for B, yellow is for C, red is for D. Okay, so if you get to the yellow and the red, you're not where you want to be. You don't want to be in the yellow and the red. Okay, you want to make sure that you're in the green or the blue or the purple. Okay, whenever you're looking at your equipment weight. So do not push your character past C, because one, your movement will be slowed a lot, and your rolls or your dodges will be a lot slower. It'll get to the point where it's unbearable, and your movement is just so slow and clunky that enemies will just like chew through your health bar. So make sure that you're in at least B agility. That is enough for you to move around like very fast and freely, and also be able to like be tanky. So that's why I'm running the heirloom set. It gives me high toughness as well as keeping me in B agility. As you can see, my toughness is in the purple, which is where you want to be. That's double A toughness. Double A toughness is the highest you can go in this game. It means that basically I'm pretty tanky, and I can take a lot more hits than someone who's in regular A toughness. Okay, so that is the reason why I'm running an heirloom set. It's not because of the special effects or the innate special effects, because key guard consumption when critical is useless. I'm never going to be in critical, and if I am in critical, I'm going to heal right back, so it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just using it because of how heavy it is and how light it is. I'm pretty sure there are other pieces of gear that you can use, but this is where I found to be the easiest to make. Um, Easiest to make me stay in and B agility, but also have double A toughness. Okay. Um, so that is pretty much my pieces of gear, my armor and stuff. Next, we're going to go on to our equipment, our accessories. For every build that you're going to make, pretty much, you're probably going to want to have this accessory right here. The Yasakani Magatama is a literal staple in build making in this game. Um, Due to the newer DLC that came and dropped, it allows you to have a certain special effect on those on those accessories that allow you to not have to use Yasakani, but Yasakani come with certain roles that you can get on it that other accessories can't. But the reason why we use Yasakani Magatama is because of the set bonus requirements reduced -1, meaning that whenever you run a certain grace or set or armor set, you don't need to have all of the pieces. For example, right here, as you can see, I have the Grace of Yamasumi on, and it says I have 6 pieces of this set active. But if you look at my gear, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I only have 5 pieces of the Grace of Yamatsumi. But because Yasakani Magatama has set bonus requirements reduced -1, it allows me to only have to run those 5 pieces to take advantage of the 6-piece bonus. Same with my Izanagi. I only have 6 pieces of the Izanagi set, but because my Magatama has the set bonus reduced -1, I'm allowed to use all 7 set bonuses of this grace. So Yasakani Magatama is a very, very good accessory. I feel like it's more necessary than any other accessory. No matter if that accessory can or does roll with a set bonus reduced -1, it still won't match up to the Yasakani's potential rolls. For example, Yasakani is one of the few accessories that can roll with life recovery on Amrita absorption. Not every accessory in the game can roll that. But Yasakanis are part of the sets, are part of the pieces of accessories that can roll life recovery on Amrita absorption. And life recovery on Amrita absorption is very, very important. I usually put this on every piece of gear that can have it. So as you can see, Magatama are really good. They have probably the best like potential rolls out of any of the accessories in the game, simply because they can roll with the life recovery on Amrita absorption, as well as they can roll with anima. They can roll with anima charge. So Magatama are very, very good. But as you can see, I have life recovery on Amrita absorption on this, and my chest piece. Every other piece, excuse me, sorry. Every other piece you cannot roll this on. Life recovery on Amrita absorption can only roll on chest pieces and accessories. Okay, so when you're putting together a build and you're rolling special effects on like your headpiece, arms, or legs or something, and you're not getting key recovery, getting life recovery on Amrita absorption, it's because it can't roll on those pieces. They can only roll in your chest and both of your accessories. So definitely take that into account whenever you're putting your build together. But on my accessories, I have Sloth on Omeo Magic, meaning that whenever I hit an enemy with a magic, it'll slow them. I have defense bonus courage, meaning that however high my courage that is, I get a good amount of defense. Obviously, you see the life recovery on Amrita absorption. The active skill damage is fine. It's not something that like I wanted, but it's a star effect, so I didn't change it. And then I also have purity accumulation. What I really would want, if I could change something out, I would change out the active skill damage for melee versus purified enemy, but that can't be rolled. You have to get that as a drop. So that's again why I stated before that this build can be optimized even more if I were to get the perfect rolls on each of my gear. But again, this game is RNG hell, so getting that to happen for me would probably take a lot of work, and I don't think it's worth it because this build is already powerful enough. So my next piece, again, life recovery on Rita, I have purified accumulation. This came with star effect, extended curse notification. For those of you who don't know, when you get to, as you can see, it'll explain, allows you to notify the enemy's curse status enhancement, curse of the demon, curse of the wise, curse of the Nioh for a longer period of time. So basically that means that when you hit Dream of the Demon, Dream of the Wise, and Dream of the Nioh, each enemy, each difficulty will come with a cursed enemy. Basically, these are enemies that are glowing, like a red enemy or a purple enemy. These enemies are considered cursed enemies, and they have pretty much status buffs. They're more powerful than the regular enemies in the game. Extended curse notification will allow you to rid them of that curse for an extended amount of time. I think between grapples and zero key remove curses. I'm pretty sure there are other ways, but I can't really remember them at the moment. But I know grappling and zero key effects basically rid them of the curse, and then they'll gain it back once they, regain their key and stuff. But this allows you to nullify that curse for a longer duration for them for them to take more damage. Okay, so this is actually a very good effect. Not to mention it's a star effect, so it's more powerful than it is if I would have rolled it or if it dropped regularly without being a star effect. So this is pretty good. As you can see, I do have a star effect melee versus purified on this accessory, so that's very, very good. If I could get that on my Yasakani Makatama, that would increase my melee versus purified even more so. But star effect, very good. It also has melee damage versus zero key enemies, so that is also very good because those can stack with each other. Like they do stack on each other simply because they're not versus a debuff, basically a debuff. So like if I had melee versus purified or melee versus saturated, basically if I put purification on an enemy and saturation on an enemy, that'll cause confusion, and you're not getting that damage buff because they do have I think they do have a buff that actually does deal more damage versus confused enemy, but that to the side. Melee versus zero key is really good. As long as you drain your enemy's key, you'll be doing increased damage. But two pretty good accessories, not god roll accessory. I mean, this is pretty damn good. This right here is probably god roll tier. This right here is probably like A tier. But yeah, I could definitely get better rolls, but again, this build is already powerful enough, so I don't really have to worry too much. But next, onto our scroll. Now this is what makes my build. Without this scroll, my build would not be what it is, and honestly, this is probably the most important piece to the build. If I didn't have this, I guarantee my build would not be as powerful as it is. This scroll took a lot of grinding for me to get the stats that I have on it, as you see right now. I could still optimize it again, but as you can see, this is a pretty damn good scroll. It comes with it comes with 2 ultimate stats, and I wrote a third on there, and it works perfectly with the build. It optimizes me to the max. As you can see, it has ultimate magic, ultimate courage, and ultimate stamina. For those of you who don't know, and if you're in depths and you've gotten this far, you've run into ultimate stats before. Ultimate stats pretty much they require you to hit a certain threshold with that specific stat, and you'll get a buff in some manner. So, for example, ultimate magic requires you to have at least 150 magic in that 150 magic. So you have to have 150 points in your magic stat in order to get this buff to activate. Okay. It allows you to have 2 Omeo Magic Mystic Arts active, and this has no effect if you do not have this Mystic Art. If you do not have any Mystic Arts active. So basically, Ultimate Magic allows me to run both of its Mystic Arts at the same exact time. For those of you who don't know, the Mystic Arts for Magic are Awakening, which allows me to use my Omeo Magic faster, and then it's an Amplification, which extends the duration of the effects of my Omeo Magic. So, since I have Ultimate Magic on my special effects, it means that I'll be able to use my magic faster, and it'll last longer. Pretty much be more powerful as well. So Ultimate Magic is very good for anybody who likes to use magic. I definitely recommend it, especially for late game builds. Next, we have Ultimate Courage. This is probably, in my opinion, the best ultimate stat in the game, bar none. I don't care about any other stat. This is, if you don't have any other ultimate stat, you want this stat no matter what. This is the most broken stat in the game. Ultimate Courage is insane. As you can see, you need 150 again. You need 150 points in Courage in order for this to take effect. And it reduces the key consumption when attacking and greatly weakens the effects of status elements that slow down your key recovery. Now, not many enemies will slow your key recovery. There are a few, but not many will do it. But the reducing the key consumption when attacking is amazing. Okay? because it's like having a barrier talisman active. It's also like melee attack key consumption like to the max. Like it's very good. Like it pretty much helps you attack more. And if you don't know, key is king in this game. If you don't have key, you die. Straight like that. If you are low on key and you go into zero key and you take 1-2 hits from an enemy, you're done. So key is very, very important in this game. Ultimate courage, by far the best ultimate stat, no question. The next one is going to be ultimate stamina. This is what unlocks my AA ranking of toughness. As you can see, it unlocks double A for agility and toughness. Ultimate stamina is what gives me that 365, that purple number right here. That's what gives me that 365 purple number. It puts me in AA toughness. If I go over to this part right here, you can see toughness double A. So that is very important. This right here helps my build as well be more tanky. So like I said before, everything feeds into itself. Ultimate magic allows me to use magic faster and longer. Ultimate courage allows me to use less ki when I'm attacking. Ultimate stamina allows me to be more tanky. If I go back up to my swords, remember the dual swords, mystic arts. When I'm attacking, I use less ki. Ultimate courage is also helping with that. And when I'm attacking, I take less damage. Double A toughness is helping with that. So it's literally all a cycle. It's all feeding it to itself. Everything was put together so that I could literally continue to be aggressive. I could continue to attack while also not losing ki, not taking a lot of damage, and also having magic to pretty much boost my effectiveness. So it's very everything was put together very, very meticulously. It was done like honestly. It was so I put so much into this build. It's ridiculous. And then another special part of this is the path of the ravenous. Now, scrolls of the damned, I've explained those in another video as well. I have plenty of videos on my channel that explains everything I just went over in fuller detail. But scrolls of the damned, they have additional special effects called paths. I think there are around 6 different paths. I'm not sure. There may be 7, but I think there's around 6. But each of them gives you a different buff, as well as it gives you a buff, but also it gives you kind of like a negative to it. So you're going to gain something, but something will be taken away in it, basically for that additional power. For example, Path of the Ravenous that I have on this scroll, it greatly recovers my health whenever I absorb Amrita, but it also decreases my Amrita. It decreases the rate in which I earn Amrita. So when I gain Amrita, I heal a lot, but it decreases the amount of Amrita I gain. Now you may see that and be like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. This is why I said that I put so much time into this build. That's where my magic and all my talismans and everything comes into play. So as you saw, Path of the Ravenous, I get high health regen, but I lose, Amrita gain rate. So that's what extraction is for. Extraction pretty much generates Amrita to the fullest amount whenever I attack. So as long as I'm attacking an enemy, I'm constantly gaining Amrita. Constantly. No matter what. I continue to keep on gaining Amrita, meaning that the more Amrita I gain, the more I heal, right? But remember I talked earlier about life recovery and Amrita absorption. So not only am I healing from these effects right here on my accessories and my chest piece, I'm also healing from the Path of the Ravenous effect. So literally I have a constant loop of constant healing over and over and over and over. As long as I'm attacking, as long as I'm gaining that Amrita, I'm going to continue to heal as like in a vicious cycle. No matter how many hits I take, I'm healing all the time. So that's what allows me to trade blows with so many enemies and be aggressive, because I'm constantly healing from all the effects I have of healing on my body. So that helps a lot. This extracting talisman helps a lot with me basically staying alive. Steel is just for basically defense. When you guard, it helps you guard better. Like when you're guarding and it doesn't increase your defense in terms of like how much damage you take. It increases your defense in terms of how much you guard. But it's very good It definitely helps whenever I guard an enemy's attack. I take less damage. Um, so definitely very good. You can definitely switch this out for something else. I just use it just because, why not? Barrier, this right here feeds into my key recovery. Barrier Talisman, as you know, increases your key recovery speed and it also dispels yokai pools. Now, as you know, Izanagi's grace is the grace for pretty much purification. If I purify Yokai Realm, I get the cleansing prayer buff to activate, and I can do it 3 times. Barrier allows me to auto purify realms. So all I have to do is pop a barrier talisman, a yokai creates a yokai pool, I run through the yokai pool, I cleanse it, boom. That's my first stack of cleansing prayer. A yokai pops another pool, boom, I run through with my barrier talisman, that's my second stack. So literally barrier talisman activates your cleansing prayer easier than when you keep post, which is pretty much how to purify yokai realm. So you don't even have to keep post. You can just pop your barrier talisman. It'll purify the yokai realm automatically. Now you have your cleansing prayer buffs up. It also increases your key recovery speed, which pretty much negates the negative effect of not that one. It negates the negative effect of where was it? Was it this one? Oh no, it's because I changed the scroll. My bad, guys. This was my other scroll right here, or was it this one? It was this one, Path of the Beast. Yeah, this was my other scroll. But yeah, the key recovery speed pretty much it helps with topping off my key, basically making sure that I don't run out of key. Remember, I said before, key is king in this game. So the faster key recovery speed you have, the better. That's what it was. This pairs well with cleansing prayer's other buff, which is this right here. So the first one is the regenerate health. The second one is the key recovery speed will also increase. So basically, as long as I'm using barrier, I'll always have fast key recovery speed no matter what. Pretty much. Next, we have the purification talisman. This is what I meant earlier when I said I don't have to have imbue purity on my weapons. This is also why I said before that purity is a lot easier to use than corruption. Simply because you can just use a purity talisman. You don't even have to worry about putting imbue on your weapon. You can have a water weapon if you want and still use a purity talisman. Boom, now you can get purity on the enemy. Easy. That's what it's for. That's what it's there for. It's very, very easy, simple, and quick to use. Next, we have our guardian spirit. Since my guardian spirit is a purity guardian spirit, which I'll get into, I use this to get purity up on an enemy, as well as to proc this effect right here, the slow and omeo magic hit. So as long as I hit the enemy with this right here, slow and omeo magic hit with proc, not only will they be inflicted with purification, but they'll be slowed as well. So it's a double whammy in essence. Next, we have Arch Yokai. Arch Yokai gives me anima gain. Okay, so the more I'm attacking, the more anima I get back, pretty much. So as long as I keep attacking enemies, I'll gain back the anima, and I'll be able to throw out my yokai abilities left and right. Very, very good, because there's one yokai ability I have for stun locking, which is probably my most used yokai ability in this game. So it feeds into that as well. All this extra stuff is just extra. This right here, this is what's necessary as well. The quick change scroll is a ninjutsu. This gives you pretty much a second life. So these have saved me plenty of times before, probably a lot. So I'm not gonna lie, like quick change scrolls definitely useful. Daijin Saki just pretty much makes you immune to any debuffs, any status debuffs. So these are very good for when you're fighting like enemies who use a lot of elemental attacks, such as like Otake or Nioh, Lightning Gods of Yomi. This will help you not be inflicted by their elemental debuffs and stuff. And this, if you don't know what this is, you need to get hip. I have an entire video on these guys. These are the most OP item in the game. This item will carry you. Literally, this item will carry. You have 3 of these active at the same time. You don't even have to do anything. They will solo a boss. Literally. Like, they drain ki like it's nothing. Like, they siphon it. They are the key draining gods. They are the gods of this game. The Scampus army is elite. They are OP. But yes, Claybell of Beckoning summons the Scampus. They are very, very powerful. I've literally used this to cheese a floor 30 Depths of the Underworld boss. Like, they did most of the work. All I had to do was just follow up and attack. I let them drain the key, and I followed up with attacks. Like, that's how powerful they are. It's ridiculous. Honestly, this they made the most unlikely thing in the game the most OP thing possible, and it's crazy to me. I find that hilarious. That's so Team Ninja, literally. But next, we just have, these are what I call my speed running ninjutsu. Speed running, again, I have a video on that, but speed running is pretty much going through a level as quickly as possible just to get to the boss. That's what it is. Sneak thief makes me invisible. Catwalking makes my footsteps silent. Tiger running makes me faster. So not only will I be invisible and silent footsteps, I'll be faster, so I'll just be able to zoom through the map. Now, sneak thief can run off if you're too close to an enemy, and certain enemies can spot you, such as dogs. They'll sniff you out, obviously, and for some reason, the crabs, they find you. I don't know how, but they find you, so be careful whenever going too close to the dogs or to the crabs, okay? So, after we've gone through all that, next we have our guardian spirit, but I will go over to this right here for that. Now, the guardian spirit that we are running, which is our primary spirit, is Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is the purification guardian spirit. As you can see, it gives me purified accumulation as well as melee damage versus a purified enemy. I have paired this with its counterpart, Baku. Baku is the corruption guardian spirit. For those of you who do not know, when you choose two guardian spirits, if you choose the right combination, you will get additional buffs that other guardian spirits do not have. So for example, if I was to take off Baku, right, and I was to put on another guardian spirit, so right now, as you can see, there's a green highlighted row, which is this right here. This is an additional buff that comes with pairing Baku and Ho-Oh together. I get anima bonus on a confused enemy. It's only D, but it still helps. If I was to change Baku into, say, Suzaku, I only get yokai damage on my phantom abilities plus 5%. It's not really good because a lot of other guardian spirits will do the same thing. Like this one does the same thing as well. This one got this one doesn't, but as you can see, it changes. But this one, so as you can see, 3 of them have the same buffs, but 2 of them have additional buffs. So if you choose the correct guardian spirit that pairs with another, you will gain an additional buff that no other guardian spirit can put together. All right. But I'm also running Baku because it comes with a 5% anima charge, so that's also very good. Now, if we look at our, let's look at our, this. So, our soul cores. Now, as for soul cores on this build, I'm running the White Tiger Soul Core, as you can see, because it comes with purity accumulation as well as anima bonus on a purified enemy. It actually has pretty good extra special effects as well as max yokai ability key damage and then yokai ability damage while I'm in yokai shift. So that's not bad, but I'm mainly using it for the anima bonus on purified enemy and the purified accumulation. I really don't use this core outside of for its special effects. I don't use it in battle or anything because it doesn't really do anything. It gets purity on the enemy, but my enemy's already going to be purified simply because of all the ways I have to do so. So I don't really use this. Next, we have Kasha. Kasha is a very good soul core. I have it because of the life drain on yokai ability hit, as well as the faster movement on Amrita absorption. So whenever I absorb Amrita, I move faster, and whenever I hit an enemy with a yokai ability, it drains their ki. It drains their life. So very, very good. And then I was also able to put on an anima bonus on Amrita absorption. So the more Amrita I absorb, the more anima I gain. The more anima I gain, the more I can use my yokai abilities. And it's again another cycle because of, remember this, the talisman I had, Arch Yokai. Arch Yokai allows me to gain anima when I'm attacking. So it pretty much feeds into itself. Another thing I have is yokai ability key pulse, meaning that if I use my yokai ability in a key pool, in a yokai pool, it'll pretty much purify that, and that'll also help with cleansing prayer. So again, a lot of this stuff pretty much feeds into the build. It goes back into it in a nice little cycle. Everything is pretty much feeding into itself. It's probably my most self-sufficient build to date. And then next is the god of soul cores, the stun locking king, the boss, eliminator, Ippon Datara. This soul core is by far the most OP soul core in this game because of its stun lock. It can stun lock any, and when I say any, I mean any boss. It stun locks them. It pretty much like eliminates their next movement and puts them in position for you to continue to attack. Um, that's the main reason I use this soul core. It does have pretty good stats on it, but the main like innate special effects like yokai ability versus scorched or equipped drop rate, those are good, but they're not what I use them for. I do get a good amount out of yokai ability scorched enemy because Kasha does scorch enemies. So this actually does do a bit more damage when I throw out a Kasha and then use this after once the enemy is scorched, but it's not the main use for it. The attack and the anima charge bonus are really good as well, but again, this is mainly for stun locking bosses. This is not like I'm not really taking into account the special effects of it. Of course, I could get better special effects, but again, this is for stun locking, not too much. Um, Now you can run soul cores on your second guardian spirit, but they don't do anything unless that guardian spirit is active at the time. So I don't really change to this unless I'm maybe doing a burst counter for an enemy who doesn't who like maybe I'm doing a burst counter for an enemy who doesn't like attack, or if there's a charge up burst counter, like if there's a charge up attack instead of like an actual physical attack, I'll switch to this really quickly, use the burst counter, switch back to my phantom, and then continue on with the battle. But that is all of my equipment and stuff. Next, I'll go over my stats, and then I'll get you guys out up here. So, right here. So, my stats are as follows. I have 55 in Constitution. That's pretty much the highest I could get it with all the other stats I have. 200 heart, because my weapons both my weapons scale with heart, so I wanted to max out my heart. 150 in courage. That's just to help with ultimate courage. 150 in stamina to help with ultimate stamina. A 10 in strength is the soft cap. 10 is the soft cap for all stats, so I just pushed strength to 10. Just not only to hit the soft cap, but it's also helping me wear certain equipments. A lot of equipment, excuse me, you need to hit a certain cap in your skill in your stats to equip certain equipments. So I hit 10 not only for the soft cap, but also to hit a certain threshold so I can wear certain equipments. Skill is at 7 again to hit a certain threshold for certain equipments, because some equipment you need to have at least 7 skill. But I don't have anything on my build that scales with skill, so that's why it's my lowest. Dexterity is at 20, simply because that is all I needed. I didn't need anything else because I don't use dexterity. Dexterity is pretty much for ninjutsu, and as you saw, I only have a few ninjutsu, and that's only for for running through stages. My speed running ninjutsu and stuff. So I don't need anything over 20. It allows me to run everything I absolutely need. So it helps me also save points. And then I have 200 in magic because my weapon again also scales with magic. Not to mention I wanted to have over 150 in magic for ultimate magic. So I was like, you know what? Let's just push it to 200, and it pretty much boosts your magic. The higher your magic that is, the more powerful your magic is, and the longer it lasts. So magic, I feel like magic is definitely a very, very important stat to have and to focus into. It's very good. You can use it as a crutch, honestly. So that's why I chose magic. Next, we have our life. I have 8,005 life. It's really high, honestly, if you think about it, because a lot of people, they don't really go past 5 to 6,000 life. It's kind of hard to get too high without having to sacrifice a lot of stuff. So 8,005 life is really good. 1,500 key, again, really good. A lot of people don't really have key as high as this. Some people probably have key under the thousands. So having 1,500 key, very, very good. Key recovery speed, honestly, with this build does not matter, simply because I'm using so much stuff to keep my key maxed out. So it doesn't really matter. Anima, again, not too much matters because I'm always gaining anima no matter what, because of my soul cores and my scroll and all that good stuff, and all my talismans. I already talked about equipment weight. So next we're gonna go over to these stats, you saw my attack power and stuff on my weapon, so I don't need to go into that. Defense is at 11,000. That's very, very high. That's actually like some of the highest. You can obviously you can have higher defense than this if you're a tank build, but since this is technically not a tank build, and the fact that I have 11,000 defense is really, really good. Again, double A toughness, very, very good. Definitely necessary. You can tell the difference between double A toughness and regular A toughness. I've checked; it's huge. I've actually gotten like I could get hit. I could take at least 3 to 4 hits with the double A toughness, but with A toughness, you'll probably take 2 hits and you'll be done. Most likely, especially in depths in the underworld, you can take 2 hits and you're out and you're over with. But with this, I can take probably 3 or 4 hits and still be alive. So that's pretty much it for all the most important stats. If we come over here, you can see that where is it? My melee key damage right here is at 40%, which is decent. It's not the highest, not at all, but 40% melee key damage, that's very good. Adding on to that, that's not taking into account the added melee key damage that Purity does. This is just the base melee key damage I have off my stats alone. This is not like status debuffs or confusion or anything. This is just my stats alone, 40.7. So if I take into account the purified debuff, confusion, my melee key damage is probably upwards like the 80s, like 80% almost. Like it's really, really good. So melee key damage could be higher, but 40% is pretty decent. Where was the other thing? The melee versus purified. I have to find that because my melee versus purified is pretty high. Where is that? It is here. All right, 60%. So I get a 60% damage boost against an enemy that is purified. That could be higher. If I had star effect melee versus purified on my Yasakani, it would probably go up an extra 20%. So it'd take that to 80% extra damage on a purified enemy. So I'm technically missing out on an additional 20% attack damage, which is very high. But 60%, not bad for what it is now. Next we have the purified accumulations at 78.4, pretty much 79%. So that's not bad. Obviously could be higher, but doesn't really need to be. That's honestly overkill if I'm being honest. I think you only really need 50% because you can get purity on an enemy pretty quickly. So 78.4% isn't bad. It's pretty damn good. Everything else pretty much is, just not too necessary to look at, but I like to look at those whenever I'm talking about builds and stuff. But yeah, that is it for my build. If you have any questions on it, please feel free to hit the comment section. I am more than willing to answer. I'm more than willing to make a video on it. Nothing's too small, nothing's too dumb. No question is too much for me to answer. So, whenever you need to, just hit the comment section of any of my videos and let me know anything you want to talk about. But yeah, that is my build. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I'm a bit wordy and it was a bit lengthy, but if you made it this far, I would appreciate you guys liking the video, commenting, subscribing, sharing it, and I appreciate you guys for the support. It's your boy King Red Diamonds. I'm out of here, guys. See you in the next one.